I had my first panic attack. And what I didn't know then, but spirit, my higher self, was coming through saying, hey, you have built a life for everybody else. Nothing wrong with that, but this isn't a life that you built for you. So at the ripe age of 22, I'm on this awakening journey. What the heck is happening to me? I feel like my body is in the way. It's sabotaging me. I don't have control of this. It's truly an opportunity for us to shift timelines, to clear all of the different lifetimes, to really step in to who we already are. And through that, I'd awakened my own clairsentience, all these beautiful spiritual gifts. My Kundalini awakened. Your business is just a beautiful excuse, really. A beautiful portal for you to really tune in to remembering how to transmute and master yourself this lifetime. So our emotions, emotional guidance scale, the worse we feel, all that means is our inner being source is just looking at this situation, how you're being in a different lens than how you're seeing it. I see imposter syndrome come up. It came up for me this week because we are going beyond that glass ceiling of comfortable vibration. And the witch to me is an acronym for a woman in total control of herself. It means that it's like riding on water. We feel the energy, we feel the emotion, and we're able to alchemize it in the moment.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. Of course, my name is Sophia from Sacred You, but with me today we have a very incredible and interesting woman, Loren. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Sophia, for having me here. Your name itself means so much to me. I think Sophia as the mother goddess herself, and I have such a connection to that divine wisdom. And I just know this is going to be an amazing episode, diving deep into our bodies.
Thank you. And thank you for that. And yes, I'm really excited to get to know how we can really connect with our bodies and to know that it's actually one of the most valuable tools that we have in our life, if we just get to know it and connect with it. I'd love to start off, Loren. Let's just start off with you. Tell us about your journey, if you would like to share about your journey and how did you get to where you are now to helping other women, other entrepreneurs to really overcome their burnout and connect with themselves?
We all start somewhere, and I think many listeners can relate to their own beginnings of their own awakening journey, whether you realized it or not. And for me, it was in the middle of my college university graduation, and I had my first panic attack. And what I didn't know then, hindsight is always 2020. We have the wisdom after, but spirit, my higher self, was coming through saying, hey, shaking me up. You have built a life for everybody else. You actually did all the right things, checked everything off the list, starting a corporate job. Nothing wrong with that, but this isn't a life that you built for you. So at the ripe age of 22, I'm on this awakening journey. What the heck is happening to me? I feel like my body is in the way. It's sabotaging me. I don't have control of this. Multiple panic attacks a day. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate. As a very sensitive, empathic soul, I'm very sensitive to energies, medications, food, eh, laundry detergent, you name it. I don't know if it was a blessing or curse, but I couldn't even take any anxiety medicine because of the side effects. So I really, my soul signed up to be able to really look at this dead in the eye and say, what is going on here? And it really led me to start the breadcrumbs to find my purpose. At 22, I was asking, there's got to be more to life than this, than just going to work, feeling anxious, paying the bills, all that muggle stuff that we need in this world to live and survive. But I started asking the question, what does it really mean to start to thrive? And I started to heal my body through foods, through really looking at what I was feeding my body and got healthy, started helping coaching other women with health coaching. And I started to realize a lot of it was just mindfulness. At the end of the day, these high achieving, very sensitive, empathic women knew what was triggering them, what foods to eat, what not to eat. But it was really the emotional work, the mindfulness work. And it so much mirrored my journey. And I found myself in the middle of a divorce and a very low point in my life again where I thought, wow, I'm really going through this hero's journey again. I thought the awakening journey already happened, and I realized just because I healed the body, which is very important, to clear our own channel physically, energetically, but the mind was still really ruling my show. The old karmic patterns of lifetimes of being the codependent, patterns of really not being in my own sovereignty. So this was the part of my journey that was really everything was initiating me to this point to really start to take a look at, okay, if I do create my reality, what am I do how what do I want to create? And at that point, I had chronic illness, burnout, all of the things you name it. And within 2 weeks of leaving that relationship, I ended up having zero symptoms at all after that. And my body, that whole relationship was really, I felt like yelling at me, but it was really guiding me. As we know, sometimes those messages get louder and louder until we really learn the lesson. So at that point, I really made a promise to myself to forgive myself for not knowing what I didn't know and learning to really work with my body. And I started my podcast about, I think, 7 years ago, is when this was after everything was finalized with the divorce, and really wanting to be that light for myself to step into that leadership and share my truth, but to hold space for other people to share their healing messages along the way, just like I did. And the message kept coming through. Your body is not in the way, it's leading the way. And now this part of my life, I could go into so much more of the quantum leaps and the energetic and spiritual waking side of it, but I trust everything is happening for me. And a few years ago, I received a pre-cancer diagnosis and I was blindsided, but at that point I also knew, hey, I'm in my, I don't even know if I was in my 30s at that point, and I'm a healthy person, but I know energetically I was still living out of the fear, out of the shame. And it was in my womb space, that sacral energy. So at that point, it was like, okay, spirit, okay, body, I know you're calling me to heal this because this is part of my own dharma. This is part of what I'm here to really give back. And every time something like that happens, I believe it's truly an opportunity for us to shift timelines, to clear all of the different lifetimes, to really step in to who we already are. And through that, I awakened my own clairsentience, all these beautiful spiritual gifts. My Kundalini awakened. I really started to harness the gifts. Yes, your body is not leading, you're not in the way, it's leading the way. But what does that actually mean? As an empath, as a person who's been on a healing journey, how do we tap into that? And how do we harness the energy that we, life force energy, every single day and not be a victim to that? How do we turn that sensitivity into our superpower? And that's really to really summarize that journey, because you guys know all the ups and downs and turns and everything else. That's really how I came to do the work that I do today, is that every obstacle, everything that you think was contrast in your life, I know was here guiding me to that further clarification and fine tuning of my own vibration that I came here to be this lifetime.
Wow. That's what I can say is truly, really, wow. Congratulations. Serious congratulations on having all these realizations and experiences at such a young age, starting off, because I know I talk to a lot of people, and in generalization, people are in their 60s, their 70s, even 80s before they start to awaken and have these realizations. But congratulations. I can see that you have a wonderful and incredible life ahead of you too, fulfilling your purpose. And you definitely have a purpose on this planet, helping other people awaken and to get to know their bodies. Because I agree with you, Loren, our bodies are our biggest messengers. And if we don't listen to it, and shit happens because it doesn't actually tell us in plain language unless we can really tune into it, then it will easily tell you what the message is. But most of us leave it too late and wait till something has manifested before we can try and look at the message. So I'd love to know, Loren, you've given me so many questions. So let's just start with you again. And for your life, you described quite a bit of your life, so thank you for that. But was there a time where you actually ignored your body's wisdom, what it was trying to tell you, and it led to a major setback in your life?
I would say first, I would love to preface, because this is something that has been coming up for me, is we all feel the regrets, the woulda, coulda, shoulda of what we would wish we would have done differently. But really tuning into that vibration of what if that was the path of least resistance that my soul needed to really learn the lessons as fast as possible to get me quantum leaping, timeline hopping, whatever you want to call it, to where you are today. So I just want to underline that big Sharpie marker first. Everything is happening for us. And I think before I really understood that, when I was married and I had all these health issues and there were signs in the relationship, I didn't understand how to be in a relationship, and just really playing out these old roles of being the codependent, walking on eggshells, wasn't standing in my own power, didn't have that sense of self. But it was through that contrast of feeling all the physical stuff, but the emotional, just the victimhood and the sadness and the despair and the anger that, you know, really had suppressed until that point in my life. And it took that to really shake me up to start to look at things differently. I really have such great gratitude for myself in that. And like, hey, I was in my mid to late 20s and I saw from the beginning exactly energetically what this was. It took me a little bit to listen to myself, but I understood what was happening and was able to get out and start to put myself first faster than maybe I could have in the past. And during that time, I had lots of beautiful spiritual moments as well of connecting with my ancestors. And even though, they were coming through, like, we couldn't leave before. You have this opportunity of leaving and living your own purpose and who you are meant to be this lifetime. We couldn't. And even though I had those profound spiritual moments, I still didn't want to listen. I still didn't take action. But it took me time to be able to understand and to decide to go. And I think for anybody who feels stuck in maybe the woulda, coulda, shoulda regret, or maybe they're on the verge of making some kind of scary or big decision, for me, what really helped is making sure I focus on something, maybe even if it's very general, like nature, or something that really lights my heart up. At that time, it was my health coaching business. to raise my vibration enough to be able to see from a higher perspective of really what's going on. Because if we make decisions out of this lower vibration of victimhood and despair, we're not going to see all the solutions or any solution possibly in that energy. So to answer your question, it's I know everything's happening for us. Sometimes it might take a little bit of time, but I remind myself this, and I'm sure everybody listening could use this reminder that what if that all happened as part of the plan? It's Abraham says they call it the path of least resistance, not the path of most allowance. And I think that's such a beautiful example of that.
It is, isn't it? I actually haven't thought of that before, that I know about the path of least resistance, but turn it around, that we can just let go and allow as well. So not to resist. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I said you've lived a very interesting life, and I definitely want to know more and about the tools and the techniques that you've used to be able to get to this. And I know you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you help other entrepreneurs. So why do so many entrepreneurs, especially spiritual entrepreneurs who know or at least are aware about taking care of themselves, they may not actually practice it, but they're aware of it. Why do so many entrepreneurs struggle with burnout? And what aren't they seeing?
I love using the lens, of your purpose or your business, because it's not super personal. It's something you create, but you're able to see it from more of a bird's eye view or a little bit from the macro point of or micro point of view. And you can see patterns. There's a through line in your life of different patterns, different loops, different emotions that we're addicted to. And you can use the lens of business or your health or relationships, anything in your life, to narrow in to see really what's going on subconsciously or energetically that you might have been ignoring, or that you're just that hamster on that wheel, repeating that loop, repeating the loop. But I know people listening to the show can relate. They're here to be the cycle breakers. They're here to really take ownership and step into their sovereignty this lifetime. And I think you mentioned earlier, I remember getting into this work in my 20s, and you're right, a lot of people are in their 50s, 60s, 70s plus, and I remember hearing, "Oh, you're so lucky you got into this early." And I used to get offended. I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, you're lucky too. We're here. And also, like, I just felt like I had something to prove. But it doesn't matter at what point we get into this work. It's always that invitation into looking at what's coming up for us. So with business in particular, I find myself doing this. It's an excuse to feel like we're always in the rush. We're always in that lack, not enough time, not enough money, not enough clients, not enough knowledge of technology, or the imposter syndrome comes up. We can use that lens of our business to take a look at, where am I self-sabotaging? How can I start to take responsibility? Am I really being a sovereign creator of my life? If I do create my reality, how am I treating this differently than I would if I truly am a creator? So I think I would say, definitely the first thing to take a look at when tuning into the burnout and self-sabotage. And also on the flip side, it's a huge opportunity as a reminder for us to tune into our alignment, to us to take energetic responsibility, especially as empaths, whether you're a healer or a coach or podcaster. You're dealing with a bunch of different energies. You're dealing with your own energy, the collective awakening right now, the solar flares, the planetary alignment. I don't care what it is. You feel it all. I feel it too. And we have to really take that responsibility for the energetic hygiene daily, moment to moment. And it's really important. This is what I love helping people with, is like, you can use that energy, that raw force, life force energy, aka your emotions. It's the same thing. In order to transmute that, you're just fine tuning that vibration. Nothing can be created or destroyed. You are that master alchemist. You know how to do this. And your business is just a beautiful excuse, really. A beautiful portal for you to really tune in to remembering how to freaking transmute and master yourself this lifetime. So before you go on and create a post, before you jump on a podcast, before you create your new course, you own what's coming up energetically or emotionally. You transmute that through your body and you use that energy to create. And it's nothing I can tell you what to do. All of the wisdom, all of the codes live inside you. So it's a skill, it's a practice to learn to tune into your body, but everything is here supporting you towards that creation, towards your purpose this lifetime. And burnout or your business is just this beautiful opportunity for you to use to dive deeper into this work.
Just taking a moment to take that in, because it's so true. You're speaking my language, and even things like burnout, they're opportunities, they're lessons for us to go into our work even deeper, which is so very true. Thank you. Love it. And you mentioned, Loren, the imposter syndrome, which happens to, again, a lot of people experience it, generalization, especially light workers, especially. So first of all, like, why do light workers experience imposter syndrome? And how do you help them from breaking free from it?
Thank you. That's a very powerful question that I know everybody can relate to. And I like to reframe it. You're going to see a big theme here. We love to reframe the negative into happening for us, redefining our definition. And the same goes with imposter syndrome. So our emotions, emotional guidance scale, very popular from Abraham Hicks, are just showing how aligned we are with source. And the worse we feel, all that means is our inner being source, whatever you want to call it, is just looking at this situation, how you're being in a different lens than how you're seeing it. So I see imposter syndrome come up. It came up for me this week. I was creating something new and it comes up because we are going beyond that glass ceiling of comfortable vibration, doing the norm, day-to-day stuff. And that means that we are growing. And that also means it's an opportunity to do that vibrational work, that alignment we just spoke about earlier. And I find talking with a lot of light workers, myself included, when we're doing the work, like when I'm tuned in, tapped in, this podcast, I love doing. You can tell I could talk for hours. You're on fire. You're in your element, whether it's healing, teaching yoga, whatever it is, Reiki. But then outside of that, you might feel the imposter syndrome, feeling alone comes up. Who am I to do this? The emotional roller coaster outside of the healing work that you do. This is actually, I believe, and this is a little controversial, your real purpose this lifetime to fulfill as a light worker. Yes, it's such a beautiful gift to share your healing gifts with the world, but you're here to be that living example, vibration in your body in the 3D of what it's like to be a master, this light worker. So when we tap in sometimes those very high realms and we're literally channeling this angelic high vibrational energy, sometimes the lower stuff has to come to the surface for us to release. Because if you think about, we walk into a dark cave, all is darkness. But if you turn a flashlight on, where does the darkness go? It has to come to the light. Energy always wants to match up. So when we tune into more of our gifts and we start actually showing up, imposter syndrome, of course, it's going to come up when we think about from an energetic level, because it's ready to be released and be cleared. And that in and of itself, to bring it back to Abraham's emotional guidance system, is proof that we already are here. We're already proving to ourselves that we aren't the imposter. We are the creator. We are the healer. We are the embodied sovereign being ready to help the light worker here on the mission. That's one of the main things I hear with people I work with and people who tune into my show is that, oh gosh, why does life feel so hard outside of the stuff that I love doing? And that imposter syndrome, the fear, the anxiety, depression, whatever it is, that is part of your mission, if not the mission as a light worker.
Totally true. To really embody that part of us, especially the imposter stuff, when we feel that we're not being true to ourselves. It's a message for us to step into our power. You're incredible. You are an inspiration, Loren. So you really are an inspiration. And I'd just like to honor you and honor your journey, and thank you for being part of Sacred You and the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. But we've got so much more to talk about. I really want to get into the witch. And what does it first of all, what is the witch within you, and what does it mean to embody your?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here. And same goes to you and everybody listening. Really take a second to give yourself credit. You're so much more further than you think you are. Like, I remind myself of that every day. And what a good question. We all can feel the energy shifting into that new earth and the divine feminine raising. And that integration of both the feminine and masculine. We know that. It's not just female versus male. And that was a huge part of my journey, right? The feminine is in the body, feeling, being present, being that master alchemist. And my podcast used to be called Witchy Wellness Radio because of the traditional sense of the word. And to me, witch really means a woman who's standing in her power. And I like to take that a little bit further. And you can see this beautiful through line that we've co-created here today of being this sovereign being. And the witch to me is an acronym for a woman in total control of herself. And if you're a man listening, you can substitute the W for whatever you identify with. But this is really what it means. Like I spoke earlier about your true mission as a light worker, that it doesn't mean that we're spiritual bypassing. It doesn't mean that we are suppressing or denying or resisting our emotions. It means that it's like riding on water. We feel the energy, we feel the emotion, and we're able to alchemize it in the moment. And I know sometimes there's very strong emotions, or if you've experienced Kundalini awakening and that energy is just shooting through your body, I know. And you're saying, relax, really, Loren? That's what we need to do. That's Michael Singer. I always go back to one of the original teachers I would read and study. Relaxing is the highest form of spirituality. And as a witch, there's this balance of being in control and focusing and harnessing that energy, which really means learning to trust that your body is leading the way. We don't need to become those reactions. And yes, some of us do. And there's no such thing as perfection. We're going to get triggered. We're going to react. But our mission here is to truly understand what is happening, to truly learn to master those energies so that we can use that towards the healing work and master ourselves. So the acronym WITCH is a woman in total command of herself. And I do feel the light workers, but also the witches of the world, the priestesses of the world, we're waking up and remembering. And it never ceases to surprise me the more that we can master this 3D sense of the word ourselves and emotional, the easier it actually is to tune into those spiritual gifts that turn on. I've had clients just through doing that and practicing very simple breath work. She's now a medium and a psychic just through doing that. And spirit starts talking to me before I do my breath work. I start smelling things and hearing things and seeing things, because when we're able to own how we feel, just the everyday stuff, we're able to continually, bit by bit, little piece by piece, start to clear that light channel, start to unblock and start to recirculate that life force energy. So of course, these beautiful gifts, these manifestations are just going to fall right into your lap. And one thing that came to mind, excuse me, while I'm sharing, is through my healing journey that I just mentioned, healing precancerous cells and really unlocking my Kundalini energy through that awakening, was not focused on that. But I also manifested my partner. who in just such a magical, easy way came into my life. We met. His middle name is Loren, Loren. Our birthdays were huge angel number people, our palindrome numbers, their angel numbers, our birthday. It's just like things like this become the norm when we're able to bit by bit, piece by piece, emotion by emotion, start mastering ourselves. And the spiritual stuff and the beautiful miracles start to flow in. But I find a lot of the spiritual people, we feel too much, so we shut that down and we want to go out of body. We want to just transcend, which is such a beautiful experience too. But that's not why we came here this lifetime.
No, we have come here this lifetime to learn, to grow, and to help others to really be in this planet, to be part of the world, but yet to help the whole planet and the collective, I believe, rather than trying to be out of our bodies all the time. Would be nice, but that's not our purpose. So again, thank you for sharing. Just want to say, totally agree with you again, like Michael Singer in his books. I'm currently rereading The Untethered Soul, and for anyone who's watching or listening to the podcast, do check out Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment. They're two of the most powerful books that I've ever read. So thank you for talking about Michael Singer. He is another inspiration like you are, Loren. And I'd like to go into your Kundalini awakening a bit, and Kundalini or energy or somatic energy. Now, for you and in your experience, what role does that play in moving us away from anxiety and being focused in this 3D problem world to moving into a world of acceptance and abundance?
Thank you for asking. That's such a good question. And two ends of the stick where we have these panic attacks trying to wake us up. The energy wants to move. And anybody who's had anxiety or panic attacks understand how all-consuming that can feel. That is your life force energy and how powerful you truly are. So a basic thing that I do every morning is I just start to shake my body. Sometimes I'll do breath work before or meditation, but it's one of the first few things in the morning. And it's such a ancient indigenous practice of just shaking your body. And what that actually does is it helps bring up the energy, activate the energy, but start to transmute and release a lot of the negativity, the stagnation. And as an empath, as a light worker, that's just like emotional hygiene 101, especially with our anxiety, because we're not only just feeling us, we're feeling the collective. We're feeling Mother Gaia wakening up and everything else that's shifting right now. And an easy way to do that is start to shake your body, start to jump around. If you have a trampoline, one of those little rebounders, bouncing around on that. Such an easy, simple practice. And I would say I turn on a playlist or music, do it for at least one song, maybe more. And what you'll see is you'll start to feel this transmutation of your energy, of the anxiousness, or maybe the heaviness start to break apart. And for me, the rule is I won't stop moving until I genuinely start smiling, until I'm having a really good time. And 9 times out of 10, I'm just so turned on by life that it becomes this beautiful Kundalini sensual experience through I'm shaking up my energy, and I've learned to work with my body enough to tune in to that energy and allow it to move me, allow it to work through me. So there's this activation or initiation where we have to shake up the energy. And that is very parallel to, how I'm sure a lot of you guys listening can relate with Kundalini awakening is that I just was a scientist and I said, what happened to my body when the energy started moving through me? One, I just started shaking uncontrollably. And it wasn't me shaking uncontrollably, it was the energy starting to break apart. Two, after that, the waves of Kundalini energy started to come through my body and I could start to feel that release. And three, I could feel really the toric field, the torus field start to come up and recirculate. So to me, in my body, that kind of feels like a vortex, but it was those 3 steps of the process that I started to understand if this was happening to me, could I actually be that scientist and somatically create that day to day so I can use that to harness and to fuel my life purpose? And yes, you can. And it's such an easy way to do that. It's just start to shake your body, start to tune into what's tight, how your body wants to move, and you'll start to see you'll build trust in your body. You'll start to get out of your head and stop saying, oh, this is silly. Why am I doing this? Is this really working? And that you start switching out of the monkey mind and you start tuning into the wisdom of your body, the most spiritual thing about you, because we came here to have this experience and this body because of the capacity to feel it all, feel the contrast. And as the divine feminine is rising and all of these beautiful spiritual gifts and people are awakening, I truly believe this temple is here to alchemize the pain into the pleasure. And one little side note that I realized recently, I was listening to a Gaia TV show with a woman, Sarah Brexman Cosmo, who studied with, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on her name. Well, apparently spirit is what we say. Anyway, she's a past life regression, and she was talking about how in ancient Avalon, a lot of the oracles would transmute energy, the negativity from the earth. And my jaw hit the floor because it was the exact practices that I was attuning to, that I was remembering. And she said, people this lifetime who have consistent skin issues, consistent acne, it's because your body is going to release that negativity and that energy, regardless if you know that's what you're here to do. And I would say the past 6 months to a year, I've been consistently doing that practice. And at 35 years old, my skin has never looked so clean, barely have any zits at all. Before it was I knew I was going through something energetic because my body was purging right through my skin. And when we can consistently tune into these practices like that, the 3D things start to get better. You start to feel better. You start to feel more alive. And something as silly, yes, as acne, but I know so many of sensitive souls deal with things like that and we feel ashamed.
Absolutely. And as you said, it's your way of your body processing stuff, and especially processing all the stuff from the collective, from our past and everything. We know our skin is our biggest organ, and it's one way that our body purges. Yes. And again, all I can say, Loren, is congratulations. I know it's not probably a good thing to say congratulations for getting acne, but congratulations for allowing yourself to experience that and allowing your body to purge some of the energy that is held on this planet. And if I could say, Loren, while you were talking, it's really true. A lot of people, we want to get out of our bodies. We have a lot of challenges in these bodies, and it would be really good one day to get out of it and become just energy. We know we're energetic beings, but yet we don't experience unless we have the bodies. So it's our body's way of really empowering that energetic being and to really experience life in this world. So thank you. Thank you ever so much. Got heaps more questions, but we are running out of time. Please do come back for part 2. And we haven't even really covered in the work that you actually help people with. But I'd love to know from your experience, what's the biggest resistance that people have when they want to step into their power? How do they overcome it?
Yeah, such a beautiful question and a powerful one that I would say a lot of people have resistance to actually being present in our bodies because we are so sensitive. And it differs for each person. Sometimes that is doing breath work. Sometimes that is doing a somatic practice or just feeling how we're actually feeling day to day. I feel some energies moving through now. I feel like really the answer is your body is leading the way. And sometimes we get really lost in the head of how things should look, how things should be. And I find myself when I feel frustrated, when I feel irritated, when I feel confused, mad, I'm like, you get to a point where you realize I don't want to feel that consistently all the time. And I know the better I feel is the name of the game. That's really my responsibility. And the better I feel, the more emotions are going to just move through me, the more abundance I'm going to attract into my life, the more love I'm going to experience, the more spiritual gifts, synchronicities, divine interventions, timing, everything is going to unfold. And my one mission is to consistently feel better. And when we have those resistance, just like we talked about earlier, whether it's your business or maybe it's resistance to being in your body, that's us learning to become that witch, to initiate ourselves into knowing that we can handle anything. We are so powerful. Yes, we're light workers, but we're spiritual warriors. And to really remember that this lifetime, and a practice that my partner and I do most mornings together is a cold plunge. And that's really trendy right now in the wellness. But I gotta say, in the spiritual energetic, I don't, I feel so freaking grounded when I get out of that cold plunge. And it forces you in extreme conditions, extreme cold, to regulate your energy, to regulate your breath, to regulate your emotions, your mind, your monkey mind, because your mind's no. But you get to be that sovereign being and retrain it and really know who's in charge of your life. Not the fear, when it's your intuition, your higher self choosing for you. So when we can proactively do things like that to challenge ourselves, when we feel the resistance is the way. When you have a tightness or pain in your body, that is the way. How can we lean into that? How can we become more curious and open our focus into that? That's how I got into all of the work that I do today. All the so quote unquote horrible things that were happening to me. When I was trying on my wedding dress for the final fitting before the wedding, I the doctors just didn't know what was wrong with me. It was just mysterious pelvic pain. At that point, I fell to the earth on my knees in pain. And my body was literally like zapping me, Loren, hello. And I didn't listen, but that was all leading me to here. So give yourself grace if you have that resistance, if something is coming up like that for you. But at the same time, you're here to challenge yourself and to grow and to expand. That's our mission, to continually keep up with our own expansion. And we're never going to get it done, but it's just like that joy and that exhilaration and thrill of continually being on that leading path.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Having an incredible experiences like trying on your wedding dress and your body's giving you a huge message. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Loren, before we wrap up, can I ask you, first of all, please tell us about your actual business. What do you offer? And do you have any offers for anyone who is listening or watching?
Thank you for this space to share my mission, but also, what I'm here to help with because we're starting this journey. I realized I wanted to outsource my sovereignty, my intuition. And the work that I do is I want to teach people in order to become that sovereign being, remember how to do that for themselves. And the people I love working with are people, light workers, just like your listeners, who either have a business or want to start a business. You've been on that healing journey and now you're ready to give back. And if you can tell through this whole episode, what a beautiful spiritual experience that is, becoming your own entrepreneur and putting yourself out there. And all of the wounds and the blocks and the fears come up. So the work that I do really helps you with the inner work, as well as how you can show up vibrationally, authentically in your creations. And let's see, Okay. I think I'll talk about the one course I'm just created. I'm very excited about how to turn your emotions into stories that sell in just 15 minutes. A somatic practice. Really how I did that at work. It's great. We love stories as humans. We learn from them. People buy because of stories and transformations. Facts do not sell. And as a light worker, it's kind of like you've done all this work and you want to help and you put the thing out there. You're like, come to my class, come to listen to this podcast. And then you're like, where are the people? I thought this was my purpose. Or what am I doing? I don't want this to be a hobby. I want this to be something that fulfills me and I can make a huge impact, but also a huge income as well. So this course really dives deep into somatic stuff we talked about, the emotional stuff we talked about, but also how do we shift that energy in just a few minutes, a quick somatic practice of how my Kundalini energy awakened, and then tuning into how we feel. How do we decode the energy and the emotions in order to create from this higher vibrational standpoint? It's a huge mission right now to really get people to stop trying to do everything, stop trying to be the healer on Instagram or the podcaster on YouTube or whatever, but really starting to tune into yourself and your unique message and how to authentically share your own healing journey, even when you feel like you're in the messy middle, because it needs to be heard. And you can tell my throat chakra has been activated this podcast. It's been coming in and out and really learning to tell a better story about your life and the remarkable things that you've done. And as you can tell, that's my mission is to really help you heal internally so that you can make that massive impact and income this lifetime as your authentic self, as that light worker.
I will certainly be checking out everything that you offer and your website. And for everyone who is watching or listening, do click on those links below and connect with Loren. You are, Loren, an amazing woman with a wealth of experience, and you have so many wonderful offers. So again, I just want to thank you for bringing your gifts and your passion to the world.
Hmm.
Love to know, Loren, before we wrap up, what is one question that women can ask themselves daily to realign with their highest path?
I love this. Oh my goodness. Whew. Not to beat a dead horse here, but how is my body leading the way right now? How is it not in the way? How is it leading the way? And when we start to ask those kind of open-ended questions, we can shift our energy, open our focus into those solutions and actually into hearing what the wisdom our body has to give us.
Thank you. I'm writing that down. How is my body leading the way right now? Allowing or tuning into the answer to what it wants to tell us. Love it. Is there any other questions that I could have asked, Loren? And how would you answer? Anything else that you would like to share today?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having the space for everybody to come on here and share their own unique perspective of the divine. I know how much that matters and how much the work that you do as a fellow podcaster, but as a person who was on her own healing journey listening to podcasts and how that little spark, if you're inspired by this episode or anything that you're listening to right now, follow that, follow that lead, those little synchronistic breadcrumbs, because that momentum will start to build, your trust starts to build. You are so supported by the divine. You are not alone. I like to say, Source is my business partner and my life partner because we are co creating every single second. So I think I could talk for hours and hours, but I feel like this is what it beautifully needed to be unique transmission for everybody listening. And thank you just so much, Sophia, for having me on. It was such a pleasure diving into the unknown and just being with you today.
Thank you. Please do come back. Really, I've really enjoyed this conversation and love to go even deeper. Oh my God, what an incredible and enlightening conversation that we've just experienced with Loren. Remember, your journey to well-being begins with the courage to look within, to listen to your body, and to trust your intuition that it is giving you. Reach out to Loren by clicking on those links below. If today's discussion resonated with you, I invite you to take the next step. Visit us at www.sacredu, that's the letter U.love, where you will find a wealth of resources, connections, and a community of empowered women ready to support you. Let us walk this path together. Did you find value in this episode? Please subscribe to our podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone else who might need to hear this message. And before you go, ask yourself, how is my body leading the way right now? The answer could change everything. Stay grounded, stay inspired, stay connected, and until next time, keep walking your pathway to well-being.